All right. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us again. I am super hyped today because I have the very fabulous and lovely Nicole Piazza. She's here. Nicole has a very special spot in my heart. Not only is she my landlord for my work business, but she's become a great friend. She has an incredible catering / event space / meal prep / everything wonderful, and she's just an amazing person. During COVID, you and your husband could not have been more supportive of everything that was going on, and just working with all of your tenants. It was like meant the world. Like, I sing your praises to everybody. Literally, she's awesome, and you need to check out everything she does because it's fabulous. So, following up on that, Nicole, would you like to say something about yourself?
Awesome. Well, that's a great plug. Thank you. I'm Nicole Piazza. Our current business is called Nourish to Heal. And as we're going to talk today about how we got there and what we've done, it's been quite a journey. But I am a registered dietitian, a health supportive chef, and now we just do a variety of different things, offering healthy food to people.
And it's delicious. Delicious, healthy food. Like, the food tastes very, very good. I've been to your new space since you've set it up, and the catering that you have put out, like, I'm literally drooling as I'm there.
It's actually really good.
Yeah, it totally is. It's amazing.
Yeah, and it's healthy. We try to kind of keep that healthy note as like a underlying theme,
right.
But we don't want to like blast it over to everybody's face. It's not sticks and twigs. It's good, clean, real food.
Well, that's what I used to tell people, because I work in Clinton, and I'm above a restaurant that she and her husband owned the building, and for a time owned that restaurant specifically. And sometimes people would come in, for meetings or consultations, and they'd always ask, do you have any food recommendations, anything good to eat? And I'd always say, the restaurant downstairs is amazing because it's healthy, but don't let it throw you off. Everything tastes so good, but it's one of those things where you can eat a lot and feel full, but you never feel gross. Like, you just feel good.
Feel good food? Oh, that's where the slogan came from.
Oh my gosh, like, you actually feel good when you eat it. So you mentioned that you were a dietitian. Yeah. So right now you've grown, evolved. That's a much better word. So how did you go from being a dietitian to now evolving into this like amazing space that you have that also has catering?
Well, it's interesting because I am a registered dietitian, and that's my background. I never had intentions of practicing as a dietitian. I liked food and cooking and nutrition and restaurants. That was always something that I was into. I've been working in restaurants since I was 14 as a coat check girl, and 16, and, bussing tables. And it's been a way that helped get me through school. It was something supplemental. It was nice cash. And it was something I always had an interest in. I was like, oh, I'd love to own a restaurant, but I just never really thought that would be our
like a pipe
story.
Dream. Like a pipe dream.
It was just like a fantasy. The reality is maybe a little different, but the reality is that we did have a restaurant. We did it. And
it was a great restaurant.
Thank you. Yeah. We'll get to how we made that transition. It was a difficult one. But I worked in the food industry. That was my first. I worked developing actually Marie calendars.
Shut up.
The pies and
you've seen the meme. You've seen the meme, the Marie calendar meme?
Which one?
About how the woman burned the pie.
You burned my pie? That one? Yeah.
Nicole did not tell her to bake it at volcano levels for 2 days. She was not the person that instructed her to do that.
But I used to help with like creating those recipe labels.
That's amazing.
And developing the recipes, starting up production and manufacturing.
How did you find your way into that?
Honestly, it was after graduate school. I worked for a vitamin company, and I was creating vitamins, Solgar, which is a pretty well-known company.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're like super smart.
Relatively.
You're like, yes, I am.
I have a nutritional biochemistry.
Wow. Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah, I know.
Wow, you are a smarty pants.
Lay person, you'd never know. But
that's amazing.
But I got my hands dirty in developing. It's different than just cooking. You're actually developing recipes.
Yeah, that's wildly different.
It was, but I was in a test kitchen, and I was still testing out different ingredients, and I got to play a little bit and sourcing different things and starting up production in a manufacturing plant, which now we're gone full circle to this like mini downsized version of it where we, obviously cook on a smaller scale, but
what you're doing now.
What I'm doing now. So it's almost like we've come full circle from where I started.
Right.
And then I was living in Long Island. I had this great job traveling to California and starting up production as like a 25-year-old. Like, it was pretty cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
People would be like, you made it. You made it.
It was awesome. It wasn't like a sustainable lifestyle, but it was very cool. Like,
especially like
independent
young
experience, like woman traveling around the country by myself. I'd go to these manufacturing plants. I think the only English-speaking woman there, and starting up production, like test batch. Like, it was very
you're like
experience.
a boss B. Like,
it was a small company too. So they
is it really?
They outsource who makes certain products. So we were a small company making the food. So I actually got in my hands, and it was a very entrepreneurial experience for me. Which was helpful to actually get to do all the pieces versus just doing like one thing. I was doing a lot of different things at a young age because, they just trusted me to versus having years of experience. From there, though, I made a major shift. So I was in Long Island at that time.
Now, did you grow up in Long Island?
Nope. I am a Hunterdon County, born and raised. And I came back. My mother was sick, and she was diagnosed with cancer, and it had been the second time that she had been diagnosed, and it was pretty significant. And I moved home to take care of her and my father and my 3 brothers who were still like in high school.
Oh, wow.
One was in college, and it was a lot going. Sorry.
No, it's no problem.
I'm gonna turn that off. Sorry about that.
No. I think I'm probably the only person that heard it. If you saw us, like, I felt a vibration, and I thought it was my phone because it's always my kids calling me.
Yeah,
but it wasn't
I'm working
me today.
while I'm here, so it's me. Sorry.
I won't tell if you won't.
So I moved home to help take care of my mom. And
now, that must have been hard. I mean, bittersweet, maybe. Happy you could help, but sad to give that up.
It was. But it was also, when there's a need and it's a family need, it just trumped it, like, so exponentially that I would have never made any different choice. So it just sort of was the natural progression of what I was doing at that time. And I stayed home for a year. I actually left my position and stayed home to take care of my mom.
Wow.
But in doing that, I was really getting into the nutrition again.
Okay.
And having as a dietitian in my background, I'd spent a lot of time like healing her and finding the best ways, to get her through her treatment.
That makes a lot of sense. I had a friend who lost a son very, very young to a type of cancer. And it was crazy to me just how much of a difference diet made in his quality of life. He had a pontine brain glioma, which it's the long and the short of it is it's a very, very aggressive cancer that when it comes on, it comes on very, very fast, and it's so aggressive that they don't have enough time to really study it because sadly enough it's so aggressive. But she had a brother who had experienced some things, so she understood the importance of diet. So she was always fairly healthy. But then her son, when he was experiencing this, obviously she wanted him to have the best quality of life possible. And the diet made all the difference in the world. And she said that like she could truly see the difference because they were able to go to Disney through Make-A-Wish. Wow. So when they were in Disney for Make-A-Wish, she was letting her son, you go to town. You do everything in the world you want to do. And when he got off of his very clean diet, his health did. I mean, his health was suffering regardless, but his quality of life was significantly reduced purely through diet. And I saw it firsthand that diet truly affects your quality of life.
Absolutely. And it's something, obviously it's been something I've been interested in, and I had this, cool experience of like creating food that was not healthy. So it was a different way of using nutrition.
Right. And thank heavens you were there to be able to help your mom.
Able to be home and like with my mom, but it wasn't just my mom. I was feeding my family. So I was nourishing my family as well. So food wasn't, it was something that was healing physically, but also emotionally. And it was a time that we all were able to connect and,
that's amazing
for my family. And, it was a pretty wild experience for a year. In doing that, I was so involved that actually the oncology dietitian or the oncologist hired me as an oncology dietitian.
Really?
At the cancer center. Yeah, here in Hunterdon. Yes, yeah.
And it's funny because I'm sure it's like this for men too. And I know it's a new age and women aren't supposed to think about these things. But I think like as women, you have, at least for myself personally, maybe I'm just personally speaking, my husband has told me this all the time. You're just incapable of ever enjoying food because you always look at it like, is it going to make me fat or not? And I'm not saying that this is all women out there, but it is. It's like a super interesting relationship that you have with food because it makes it difficult for you to just enjoy nourishment because whoever it is, society, commercials, marketing.
We could do a whole talk on all the different reasons for eating. And most dietitians, coming from, it was, how do I find the secrets for staying skinny forever? Like that's why you get into it. That's what most people have, and through that, I healed my own relationship with food and using it in such different ways. Right. I've had a lot of different experiences and positions and both for work and at home that have just helped me to heal that.
That's awesome.
Food as a tool for, actually using it to heal you and nourishing you for your mind, for your body, for your strength, for emotional reasons.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. There's a book there someday.
You have to rate it
there's
because
a book there about that.
while you're far more knowledgeable than me, I have stumbled upon something that has worked for me. And I told my husband, I'm like, it's the craziest thing. After 43 years, for the first time in my life, I can eat until I'm full and I don't feel bad after it. And, my whole life, if I eat too much, I'm not going to be able to button my skinny jeans, whatever. And I happened to stumble upon something that worked for me. And I told him, I'm like, for the first time in my life, I can understand why people like going out for breakfast. Because previously, if I would go out for breakfast, I would feel like garbage for the rest of the day. And that's like incredible. Like having that knowledge, like, food is everything, right? Yeah. Food is everything. Yeah. It's such an important thing. I read the Bible, and even if you're a follower of the Bible, it's literally a blessing. Like it's a good thing given to you in your life. And it's just like so amazing that you had this knowledge, and through a very unfortunate situation, it allowed you to use that knowledge and help heal your mother, heal your family, heal yourself. And now you're doing so many amazing things for so many people. Like that's freaking awesome.
Yeah. The journey's pretty cool.
Yes. So
if you pay attention, like the doors just kind of open and you end up going in the next path, and it makes sense. Like it's.
So you weren't afraid too. Like you weren't afraid. You're like, okay, so this is something that I'm doing, which is different, and I'm not going to push back at it. I'm going to just embrace it.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Did not have the qualifications to be an oncology dietitian on paper. I didn't. I was a new grad that worked in food production. Like I just did not have those skills. But what I had experienced with my mom and actually doing it firsthand, that was the experience that was enough to make me qualified. And I wasn't afraid to do it and to dive in and
just try something that's amazing.
I felt like it was my opportunity to give back after everything that had been done for my mom, and that she was okay. Like it was just like, I don't know, it was close to home. I was able to still be there. I had a pulse on like what was going on with her. And
yeah. Wow. That's amazing. Yeah. So you were working as an oncologist dietitian.
Oncology dietitian. Yeah, and
sorry.
I had my certified specialty in it after I'd been in it for a few years. And then it really, it's one of those things that when you do it, it's your whole soul. It's your heart is like, I really gave it my all, my patience.
Well, I would imagine it's something that you can't not get close with them because you see people in such a really raw way.
Yes, and that's the way I operate, is that when I'm doing something, I'm all in, and that's how I was with.
So you're passionate about it.
Yeah, but it also it was a lot. It was a lot. I was taking it on more. Like it was, they're
emotionally
not everyone
draining.
Makes it. So yeah, it was a lot, and I found that it was my time I was having some GI issues, and I was just becoming interested in gastroenterology, and there was a practice at Hunterdon, advanced gastroenterology and nutrition. And I had a conversation with the gastroenterologist. I said, hey, who's your nutrition? Do you have who is that? Oh yeah, we provide some information. I said, but is there
a nutritionist?
And he said no. So I created a position for myself as a gastroenterology dietitian.
So you just were like, I think I should do this.
Yes.
And you should probably say yes. And they're like, okay.
Yeah, and paid me pretty good money. Yeah.
That's...
Yeah. Yeah.
So once again, you saw a position and you weren't afraid.
No. It just made sense. I was like, I can do that. They should have that.
And they should.
I want to do it. And I did.
So now, did you do both at the same time?
No. So it was still at Hunterdon, but it was a private practice.
Okay.
That hired me to work as a gastroenterology dietitian at the time. I mean, it sounds silly, but there was some exciting stuff happening as people with irritable bowel syndrome that were feeling like they had no hope, and it was just nothing was wrong, that there was nothing for them. And I personally experienced it myself in healing myself, that I had this small intestinal bacterial overgrowth and that there's actually treatment for it and that your life doesn't have to be like that. And I changed people's lives by it was amazing. It was really cool. To help people that were uncomfortable, bloated, gassy, suffering for
ever.
Years.
And they don't have to.
And they didn't have to. And all sorts of symptoms.
And fixing people without
changing their
putting
diet.
them on medication.
Sometimes there was medication involved, but it was it was involving a lot of probiotics and their diet, changing to reduce simple carbohydrates. And really all of our food that we offer currently and still is similar to that type of food and eating that I would have recommended to my clients.
Right. So you got to, so you were out there in the real world actually healing people who needed healing, not even necessarily Joe Schmo off the street who wants a good meal, people who relied on food, nourishment for health, and you were able to see it. You were able to see that it worked.
And because it was part of the hospital system, there was a lot of documentation and just things that were to the letter versus a little more so than I was.
Mm-hmm.
I needed more time for my appointments. I spent, as I shared, I really give myself to what I'm doing, and I found that the constraints of the system wasn't really working for me, and that's where I branched out and started my own practice.
Okay.
So, and my practice was called Nourish to Heal.
Ha ha.
Everything full circle. So when I worked with my clients, it was all about healing their relationship with food, healing their gut issues, allergies, and really working with them to transform lives. It's a lot of it is psychological. It's not just, it's emotional. It's not just what you eat. Right. Most people know a Snickers bar versus an apple. They can make that choice. It's more of, why are you doing it? What are you eating it? What are the reasons? What are the feelings you're having, and how do we fix it? And how do we heal that so that it doesn't keep happening for them? Yeah,
it's funny. So like I said, you're far more knowledgeable than I am. So I kind of stumbled upon something that worked for me, and it's amazing that, and I also do different exercises that helps it. But at 43, I'm fitter and leaner. I didn't change my diet to become skinny. I changed my diet because it made me feel better. But I'm eating more and I'm leaner than I've ever been in my life.
I'm probably stronger.
Yes. And it's funny, it's funny not having food be an enemy. And food shouldn't be an enemy. Yeah. But it was oh my gosh.
It does. It's one of those things.
It's freeing.
It is. To actually enjoy food and eat it and not feel guilty about it.
And
if you eat something that's not,
so then who cares?
So you ate it, and you enjoyed it while you ate it, instead of feeling guilty and beating yourself up and having this whole emotional
and you see it happening to girls younger and younger, because for me, when I was in middle school, I'm in my 40s, so there wasn't social media, so I was just around other girls my age. But my middle daughter, because of social media, she gets to see these social media stars, and all of my children are built like me. We're just tiny people. But my middle daughter went through, it was a short-lived phase just because we were very fortunate. We kind of saw it, nipped it in the bud right away, but went through a phase where I just don't feel like I can eat anymore. Started happening. So fortunately we were able to catch it. But yeah, it's one of those things. It's probably even more important now to get younger people into that, because middle schoolers aren't just with middle schoolers. Middle schoolers are with adults when they go home and turn on their phones.
Yep. Well, the other part of it, the parents, as in yourself, you've healed your relationship with food,
Right.
which translates to your children also having a good role model.
Right.
And, so it always starts at the top down, right?
Yes.
So that's, one place to just, you're doing it. You're making
Right.
those changes. And yeah, I didn't always work with eating disorders, was not my specialty, but there's always a inappropriate utilization of food.
Yeah, I think
inappropriate eating, I guess, would be it.
we live in the
it's
land
that-
of plenty, and you can have access to everything all the time. So it's easy to have fruit because there's incessant access to unhealthy food.
And it's easy to feel bad about it, or you might physically feel bad, or
both.
Your health is, there's so many different factors that compound to make it this so much more complicated than the apple versus the Snickers bar.
Right. Yeah. Like, if I'm going to eat one Snickers bar, I might as well eat 100 because I screwed everything up. Like, I was one of those people like, I had one Skittle. I'm eating 10,000 bags now. Like, stupid, but right.
Start over tomorrow.
Start over.
Reason,
yes.
Which doesn't really make any sense.
Doesn't make any sense. So you had your own practice.
Yeah. So I started my own practice, and this is where the cool part comes in. I was seeing clients. I had an office locally in Clinton, and I would meet clients sometimes at the coffee shop.
The coffee shop below
Here
where I work in the building.
Yes, which that is where my now husband, Anthony, first saw me. I was seeing clients in his coffee shop. As he says, I was loitering in his space. And it was 2 years. He saw me. We knew who each other were. He was actually asking me advice as he was opening up the Riverview, the restaurant, the first restaurant he was opening. Meanwhile, mind you, I was like serving alongside to like support, having my own practice, and not for him, not at that time. But he saw me, and it was 2 years later before he asked me out. But he had told his father, "I'm going to marry her."
Shut up.
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever told you this story. So her husband. In a previous life, her husband had worked with my husband, and when I first moved in here, and he took over the building because we used to have an old landlord. I'm like, oh my gosh, what are you doing here? So we were friendly. We were friendly. We knew each other from a previous life, and then everything started happening with the restaurant, and then there's this girl and he had actually told me, he's like, I didn't want to seem like the creepy coffee shop guy and just like, ooh, there's a girl here at my counter, let me ask you on a date. And he's like, and that's part of the reason why I waited so long, because I didn't want to seem like some creep.
I kept wondering why I had to pay for my coffee. I'm like, I can tell this guy likes me. Why am I paying for my coffee? I'm very confused.
And if you guys don't know her husband's charming. He's an attractive man. He's, tall, well-built. Like, he's not a guy who really needs to worry about it. Like, she's married an amazing man with a lovely personality who's attractive. Yeah. So he's not the type of person who needs to worry about this. So
he was intimidated by me.
Yeah, it was the sweetest thing in the entire world. Yeah. I'm like, oh my gosh, Anthony, you could totally probably ask her out whenever. I don't know why you had to wait.
Yeah, well, timing's everything.
Right, yeah.
So I had things to get out of my system. I wasn't quite ready for him until
he asked. He must have known. He must have known.
Yeah, he had a radar of it. But so I was practicing in the coffee shop that then 3 years later, I guess it was about maybe 5 years later, we owned the coffee shop. We own this building. We have a restaurant. We recreate our restaurant.
It was the restaurant in the building.
In this building, which actually the same room that we're in right now, at one point we lived in, which is crazy for a very short time in between life. But the restaurant, the Riverview, Anthony started. It was a great menu. It was American fare. It was, but he also was trying to have this gluten-free options because he was eating gluten-free.
Okay.
There were other ways he was eating, and that was something that Anthony and I connected on, was food. We both ate the same way, and we both felt the same way about food. And I started working for him to help him with the restaurant as we were, getting more serious and then engaged. And we realized we were having food made for us in the back for us that wasn't what we were serving to customers. And
okay.
What are we doing? We're busting our asses, running around like crazy. We have a very large patio. There's about 80 seats out there, extremely busy restaurant. And we don't even eat the food we're serving.
Right.
What is this?
What are we doing?
Ridiculous. Absolutely. And meanwhile, with my practice, I was having trouble telling clients where to go, how to navigate a menu. I'd be like,
Right.
oh, go to this restaurant. If you ask them for this and this, you can then put this together. They'll make it for you. Oh, if you go here, they'll like make this one thing for you. I know
Right.
they don't have that, but nothing was perfect.
Right.
And we personally were eating differently as well, and we're like, you know what? Anthony was on the verge of like, I'm ready to get out of this business. I don't want to be in the restaurant business. I'm like, what about if we just do something totally crazy and just create the menu that based off of like the food that I would feed my clients,
Right.
or that we would eat? What about if we just went all in and just did it and kept it approachable and, took a new perspective on food locally? That our area is very saturated with Italian.
Yeah. What?
Chinese places.
Italians in New Jersey. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Well, and we are Italian, so everyone
Yeah.
assumes that's what we eat, but we don't eat that out. But it was a big, in this town, creating a restaurant of what this idea we had was like, what do you mean you're changing the restaurant?
Right.
What do you mean you're going to do
Stop
things
it. Just leave it as it
differently? Like,
is.
that's crazy, But
Like you've already got a good thing.
we did. We had a busy restaurant, but we weren't passionate about it. We were like,
You were going through the
make
motions.
Sense. It didn't make sense. Like, if this is what we're going to build and create, and if we're going to have a restaurant as we, got married or whatever, if we were going to have a restaurant, we were like, why not make it something that we really care about? And
Right.
use the fact that I'm a dietitian and
Right.
use that to like create our menu and build a place that's for all the people that might have special dietary needs, or maybe they have allergies, or maybe they're gluten-free, or maybe they want something that's vegan, or maybe they want meat, but they want it to be, clean and local.
Right. And for
And-
me, I noticed I wasn't at the time when you guys had that restaurant. I wasn't on really any special diet other than like your typical, I'm a girl and I want to be skinny. But the thing that I just noticed, and that's the way I would describe your restaurant, was you don't get it. You can go there and eat a big meal and you don't feel bad after
Yeah.
it. Like you just feel good and
Yeah.
full.
Because
And
it's real food.
Yeah.
It's real food. It's very hard to find real food anymore.
Yes.
Nothing was packaged, nothing was processed. We were creating everything from scratch. And our restaurant opened in 2015. We were married, so that was in February of 2015. We got married in June, and I was pregnant by July of 2015.
busy.
August in 2015, the New York Times came and they wrote like a really amazing review of our place.
Yeah, that's like, holy cow.
And we were already like busy as hell. And the New York Times came. It was like a full spread, a full page, and it was insane.
Now, did you like kind of reach out to them like, hey,
No, we were just blowing up. We were doing something initially as we first opened. All these people were like, why are you doing that? People would come and they would leave. They would literally look at our menu and leave. Like,
do you know that's what I would actually say that to people? Because some of the stuff I would tell people, I'm like, don't be turned off by the names of the stuff. I would say the names of the stuff sometimes look like frou-frou hippie stuff, but it's not. It's
not.
really good.
By the way, the names are mostly inspired by like early 2000s or 90s rap songs. So like it's really not hippie. It's actually like very funny. I thought it's my sense of humor.
But that's what I would tell people.
but
Like,
yeah.
don't see healthy food and think that this is just healthy
Yeah,
food.
yeah.
Like, it's not. It's so good.
Yeah. So it was one of those things though that we broke them. Like we did something totally different.
Totally
and for
different.
This area, farm to table hadn't happened yet at that time.
And it was so
wasn't
strange
a
that it
thing.
hadn't.
And I was reaching out to farmers and like local farmers. I was like, hey, do you want to work with us? Hey, do you want to do that? None of them were working with restaurants. They
Really?
didn't even know how to work with restaurants.
That's so
It was like a
interesting.
whole learning curve of like how to like supply and like just getting things from different local businesses. It was kind of a new concept for this area.
And it's funny, it's so hard to go back and know that a time like that existed, right? Because now,
I mean, farm to table is such a like overutilized term that doesn't even really mean anything anymore.
and I
because
don't
people
even think a lot of people even who say they're farm to
No,
table,
they're
it's like,
not.
oh, we have broccoli in the backyard, so we're farm to table.
Yeah. I mean, my whole thing was, we have all these cool local businesses in our area. Let's use them. And then I
Yeah.
thought that it would cross promote and they would promote us. And it was this whole idea of like, why not support local and our local economy? We talk about it. People say like, eat local, do local things, but like nobody really does it. So
Right.
we really were doing it. And that was a cool part of, we didn't only have the nutrition, this underlying nutrition thing that we could accommodate, whatever allergy you might have. Our food was clean and healthy. We were also like sustainable and local. So it was like a multi-pronged, like,
So you
cool.
had something you felt was important, and you're
Exactly.
like, and we're gonna do what we think is
Yes.
important to help
And
people.
it was against the grain. It wasn't what people necessarily, everyone, the Riverview customer, our former customer, was not the same customer as the Clean Plate Kitchen.
Well, because I remember I thought Anthony and Nicole, Anthony, because I know him, I have a bad habit of just referring to it, but her husband. I remember the food was great. Again, French fries would upset my stomach and everything, but the food was delicious. And I remember when you guys first changed the menu. At first, I was like, but like you're excited to support people, new business ventures. So I'm like, of course I'm going to like support them and go out to eat there. But like I don't know, like, and then I was like, it's actually good.
Yeah,
it's actually really good.
Yeah.
And I don't feel bad when I eat it.
Yeah. So it blew up. We completely blew up. We could not have been busier, which was amazing.
Yeah, that's
And
awesome.
It was, but it was a lot to run. We had in the summer 30 different servers, in staff, and in the back of the house we have got like 10 people in our kitchen, and it was just this machine that was going, but it required us to be involved, or if there was an issue with the building, my husband's fixing the toilet,
right,
broken pipe, and meanwhile somebody calls out, and like I'm serving, and we had a newborn baby at the time, and it got crazy.
It's
but
a
it was
lot.
like good crazy. We were ready to like start doing some renovations. We were trying to think of what we were going to do. We had plans. We were ready with an architect. We were about to close and like break ground. We kind of got cold feet about it, which thank God that we did.
Because this was just before COVID.
It was actually the year before.
Okay.
But we were going to be putting all of our money into this building. And instead we're like, you know what, let's go to culinary school so that we're never in a situation that if somebody in the kitchen is not there, we can do every single thing in this restaurant.
Thank heavens that you took that prep time.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So we were going into Manhattan, into the city. Somehow we managed it.
With little ones.
Yes. I was still nursing when I started culinary school. And it was more for validation for ourselves. It was something, Anthony was in the restaurant business, but he didn't have like the same background that I did. It kind of put us on the same playing field. It was a health supportive program at the Institute of Culinary Education.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was a really big deal that we did it. Just the time commitment that we were able to go every Sunday and Monday evenings for a year. And we like had this great experience. And the week we were supposed to graduate was the week the world was shut down. It was March of 2020. It was like our last week of classes. And
talk about like just timing.
I mean, we thought we were teed up. We're like, we've got it. This summer
it must have been a little bit heartbreaking at first.
Oh, it totally was. Like we were like, prior to the shutdown, we were like, we're finishing school. Like summer is going to be amazing. Like we are like ready to make money this year. Like
you're right.
We've put our time in. We've gone to school. Like we've done like all the extra things. Like we got this.
Right.
And then it was a big, oh shit.
And it was both
what
of you,
now?
like both of you doing it.
Yeah.
It's not like you had one, for me, I had one spat, like my husband was still working and I wasn't, but it was, you guys were all in.
Yeah. And so then our restaurant, we were shut down, and in New Jersey, it was a long time. It was, we were open back up, but we were allowed to do takeout. We were so busy. We never did takeout. We couldn't handle doing takeout. So this was a different business model. Our food is all fresh ingredients. It doesn't hold up as well if it's hot and you put it in a takeout container.
Right.
So through that, my initial thought was, let's start doing donations and meals for people in need. So that was like our first, one of our first responses to the restaurant being shut down, and that we were now doing this takeout thing. So I'm like, let's, give back. Let's figure out how to help, because it was a crisis time back then.
Right.
Everyone was freaking out.
And there were a lot of people that didn't have jobs,
or
because
people that were working and they couldn't
even in New Jersey, the unemployment was a real problem in New Jersey. Mm-hmm. People, I was one of those people because they opened it up to small business owners. So I was on all the boards. I didn't get my first unemployment check until 8 months after they said it could. And now, again, I was very, very blessed that I had a husband who worked, and we're still in the first house that we ever bought, so we were fine. But there were people who literally had no money, and there was zero support for whatever reason.
We had also just moved in. We just bought a house too. We had bought a house, and the world was shut down, and we were just invested in school, and it was a lot. So we were,
that's terrifying.
Out. Yeah, it was pretty scary. And we just went into hyperdrive and figured out how to make it work. And
right. You're like, we're gonna do this.
And I busted my ass.
You were always doing something.
I was. It was completely insane. On social media.
And you went out of your
I hadn't been on social media really before. Like, our business is just, it was so established and doing so, just running so well. I didn't have to work very hard to make it work. I had customers, and then all of a sudden it was like, shoop, but people were coming from New York. They were coming from out of state, out of the area. They would sit on our patio. Like, we had this business, but suddenly when the world shut down, so to speak, we did not have a business.
Right.
We were not a local business. Like, we were, people were coming from, we were a destination. So it was a whole different thing of figuring out how are we going to navigate this. So I had to start, putting myself on social media and figuring out how to do that.
I remember going to your house and setting up, helping you set. Yeah.
Yes. You helped me with social media. You helped me with how to do a cooking class.
I mean,
a virtual class
I was very,
online.
very little help. She pretty much knew how to do everything. I just happened to know cameras. So I should get this much credit for all. Oh,
that's
that.
Not true. I still needed your help for sure. But it was, it was one of those, we were doing online classes. Sorry.
No. It's no problem.
I did mention I'm working, right?
Yes.
Sorry.
No.
Sorry.
No. Please don't apologize.
So yeah, we started doing donation meals. We started collecting money to donate meals to the community. And I think it was over 3,000 meals that we donated. So it was really...
That's amazing.
Yeah. It was probably more than that.
Can you just put your phone on maybe the chair or the thing behind? It's just the table. The microphone is picking up the vibration.
I apologize.
No. It's no problem at all.
All my drivers are about to go out right now, so they're calling me.
And you can even, I don't care if
okay.
you text. It's just you can't hear it. I have the headphones on, so I can hear it when the microphone picks it up.
I'm sorry.
No. Please don't apologize.
They're persistent.
No, I get it. I have photographers hey, when can I pick up those memory cards? So trust me, I get it. I get it.
So anyway, we started doing these donation meals, and I figured out that hot meals plated and then being delivered didn't really work. It was just like soggy takeout food.
Right.
And that is where we started discovering plating food cold, and meal prep was developed through our donation meals that we
That's awesome.
Realizing our food was better quality plated cold than plating it hot. I mean, everyone's had taken home takeout, and you get home and takeout is takeout. It's never the same. It's never as good. It's soggy. It's wet. It's just not the same.
Not the same.
So we figured out we could make our food better by preparing it ahead, plating it, and then it could be reheated.
Right.
And then the doctors and nurses that we were going to, or whether it was at the food pantry, they were able to heat that food and have a fresh meal that tasted delicious.
Yeah.
So we realized, wait a second, we're actually really good at this. And, we continued to have the restaurant. Once we were allowed to open, we reopened, but we continued doing this meal prep. And that was kind of the beginning of a seed that Anthony and I were like, we are not happy running a restaurant like this. We might be making money. It's successful, but we don't want to do it anymore. We have 2 young children, but we still like food. We still like being creative and changing our menus. We still want to be involved in our community. And we wanted just a smaller scale, smaller operation of how can we function and not feel so we're going to lose our minds because we have so many people we're employing, and
running
so
a restaurant
is
involved
and
so much
24/7. It's 6 days a week. It was ridiculous. And we had a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. It was completely ridiculous. We're this everyone was complaining during COVID about being home, and that they were just spending so much time at home and they were sick of their kids. And meanwhile, I was wait a second, I'm pissed. I am not home. I want to be home. I want to be home with my kids. I'm working my ass off. And
that was a very interesting time when you would talk to people who had, maybe white collar workers, and especially in this area. We have a lot of people who work for big pharma. So people were still making the same amount of money, except they got to work in their PJs and have lunch with their wife every day. And you had people like you who are busting your butt, or people like me who would be like, I would give anything in the world to go to work right now. Like if I don't go to work, I don't make money because I can't take pictures virtually.
We literally created a new business model completely,
and it worked amazing for you.
It did. It was one of those things though that it was not expected for us to close a viable, successful business, but it was about quality of life for us. That was like our main reason for making this change. We saw an opportunity of expanding our meal prep, getting back to like our roots of like cooking, but for the fun of it and for creative menus. And we found a way that we're like, maybe this is our way out. Maybe
so you weren't afraid. You weren't afraid to pivot again.
This one was scary. This was a scary one because we had something that was, it was a big move.
Right.
But at the same time, we saw no other way. We're like, we have to make this change. I was having issues with my adrenals, the stress. Like, I'm just like, I don't want to create more disease in my body because of stress and inflammation and all the things that I like preach about not doing. I am now doing, and this is unhealthy for us. And this is not a lifestyle that we wanted. We wanted to do with our children. And I'm like, we're intelligent, educated people. Like, we can find a smarter way to work.
Right.
Let's find it. And that's what we're creating now, is a smarter way to work.
So awesome.
So we're doing our prepared meal service. Right now, I've got all these people calling me because I've got about 6 drivers headed out with deliveries.
I'm so sorry. If you do need to take it.
No, it's fine. But, it should all be automated. I'm not sure why they always need me. But, we have 105 deliveries that we're doing locally.
Wow.
Hardin County. And then we do Somerset and Warren. And that's all today that we do that.
Holy cow. Thank you so much then for coming in today.
Oh, it's fine. Oh, it's good. I mean, I hope Friday's the same way. But we created a schedule that works for us. We're like, if we're going to do this, let's try creating exactly what we want that works for our lifestyle and what we want, and see if it works. There's other things we can modify or expand to if it doesn't work. But we're like, let's just go all in and do it. And I feel like we have a product that's fantastic. We are offering something that is local, prepared meals that no one's doing it the way we are.
No.
It's healthy, it's clean, and they are good. And I'm like,
I think that's the biggest thing. It's good.
Yes. But we use sustainable packaging. We source locally. It's like allergy friendly. Like, we customize. We create custom meals for people.
Do you want to say the name of
Nourish to Heal?
It's go to Nourish because you have the event space.
So our space is called Nourish to Heal. We rebranded the Clean Plate Kitchen to Nourish to Heal, which is NOURISHTOHEAL. So
and I'll put it in the show notes. I'll put all the stuff in this. So if any of you want to check it out, if you're local to the area, because it's all local.
It's local.
Yeah. Yep. So anybody who's local to this area,
Warren,
this is how I'll have it in the show notes. How they can check it out.
Cool. That's great. But so I don't know if anyone remembers, but Nourish to Heal was my first practice when I started my practice. So we've gone full circle and we've created Nourish to Heal as we've rebranded. That name had come to me in like a meditation. It was one of these things that I just held on to even when I wasn't practicing while I was having babies and running the Clean Plate Kitchen. I'm like, there's something about that. There's more to it. It's not over.
Right. And, it just spoke to you.
Yes. And
that's so amazing.
It's like this whole full circle thing that now Nourish to Heal is this space where we have a beautiful kitchen. We're creating
the kitchen is
meals.
amazing.
We're working a schedule that, is more of a 9-to-5 lifestyle. And then we've just finished our event space, which you've seen a few times now.
Their event space is pure fire. It is. Like and it's so funny. So I think I've seen it because Mandy went the one time. So I've personally seen it for 3 different events. And like the first time I saw it, I'm like, this is amazing and perfect. And then the next time it was better. And then just this most recent, I was like, this is it's gorgeous.
Yeah, thank you.
Like, so yeah. So
It's
how did
awesome.
you now? Because you had the restaurant with the kitchen here, and then I remember when you found the new space. So did you find it for the kitchen, and the space just happened to be there?
So we found it for the kitchen, and we gutted the kitchen completely, put in a new space where, like, there's enough bones here that this is a good building that we can put this kitchen in. And honestly, the timing was right that building was available for a good price at the time.
Right.
So it's been about a year that we've been, since we started, we broke ground.
Okay.
And, like, we purchased the building. It was like almost a year to like the day practically that we closed on it.
That's
So,
awesome.
and it's been a process for us to get here, but we've been operating the whole time. We continued our meal prep the entire time. We worked out of the kitchen here, of the Clean Plate Kitchen, before we're now leasing that out to someone else. And while we were working on our kitchen, Anthony, my husband, did 90% of the work. I mean, it's incredible.
These are hardworking people. You guys are always I mean,
we are always working.
And it's one of those things where, like, so you're not afraid of hard work. You're like, right, like, I have this idea, I want to do this, and I'm not like afraid to put in the work to do it.
I also have this amazing husband that makes my ideas come to fruition.
Yeah, that's
so
awesome.
He trusts my instincts, and that when I have an idea about something, like, he makes it happen.
Yeah, so you have that support. Like, you're like,
a really good partnership. Like, it's amazing. Like, he can physically manifest exactly, and like, he does the work to create what
he's super handy.
Yeah, what I wanted or visioned, and our space is beautiful.
Yeah,
and
it really is.
We didn't even expect to necessarily do events initially. I had this idea for it, but there was actually a tenant in half of the building.
Oh.
So she happened to move out a month after we moved in.
Okay.
And like bought the building. And at first Anthony's like, oh shit, the rent. And I'm like, we can break that wall open and create like an event space for parties.
Really? So again, another thing, you're like, this could be bad, and you're like, nope, I have a vision, and like, I think we can do this. Like, I think we can do this.
It's more like, I know we can do this, and it's like, and it's all there now. I'm like, we did it, we're doing it.
Yeah, those tables, by the way, are so, I'm upset. Like, the tables that you had in there for the baby
concrete tables or the wood ones.
The wood ones.
Yeah,
those ones specifically, they're so pretty.
Yeah,
like
they are. They're heavy duty tables, but. Yeah, I think we've kind of found the niche where we can do parties now. And it's something we're good at. I enjoy doing parties.
Right.
Every time it's something different. So it makes it fun. And with a party versus a restaurant, I can say no.
Right. You get to do it on your time.
This isn't going to work for us that day. We're going away, Where before with a restaurant, there is no. It's just always
There's
every
no
day.
vacation. Mm-mm. Like, yeah, I used to photograph every single wedding myself. And it got to the point where it was like, it was too much, because when I wasn't photographing weddings, I was editing weddings. So I was literally just working 7 days a week all the time. And the money was good, but what good is the money if you have no time to enjoy it?
Yeah.
And like my children, because I had the girls, and like during summer times, they were like, Mommy, we want to go to the pool, and I'm like, I can't do anything, because I'm literally, they couldn't be in sports, because who's going to get them to the sports on the weekend? Because my husband has a strange schedule where he has to work. He has a wild schedule. So it's just very, very difficult to plan on him being there. And it got to the point where I was like, I can't do it anymore. I can't always be working all the time.
Yeah.
So I
it's
had,
the same thing.
yeah,
it's the same thing.
And I had great people who worked for me who were very, very apt, and then just kind of like making that switch. Like, you can be a head photographer, and making that switch. Like, initially, I wasn't doing all the weddings myself, and I try to pay my people very, very well. So at first, like, there was a little bit of a drop in money, but the quality of life was so much better. Mm-hmm. And then seeing that it worked, you're able to grow and expand, and I was able to make something. We can give even more people amazing memories, and my children can have a life, which is awesome for them. So it's funny. It's like, it's awesome to make money, but if your quality of life is like, I'm just so stressed out because all I do is work, what good is the money?
It's not worth it.
You don't want money, you want happiness.
Yeah. I missed a lot of good stuff with my kids.
Right.
I missed it. Like, we both did, Anthony and I, and we're trying to make up for it now. As we homeschool our girls, and we've that was something that I always wanted to do. And meanwhile, I was the complete opposite. I had my kids and babysitters and being passed around so that we could work. And I'm like, what are we doing? This is insane. This is not how we wanted to raise our children. We're okay with working. Like, I have a daughter at the restaurant right now. You know, she's at the kitchen while we're cooking and plating and doing whatever. And she's hanging out. She was homesick today and not feeling good. And it's fine. Like, but we're all about, you know, working and family and business, but they need to kind of work together.
Yeah.
And what we had before wasn't a space that they could come to. It wasn't, it didn't work for our lifestyle to have time with them.
Right.
And to even have a space. I can remember putting a pack and play in the corner of the restaurant and like trying to put Zinnia down for a nap. It was crazy. Or I'd have a baby in a baby carrier as I'm serving tables. And I'm like,
this is too much.
This is too much.
My daughter, my oldest daughter, put together like a funny little video. She was one time taking a video of me when I was like editing, working from home. So I had all 3 kids. So I had my one daughter who was nursing age, and then I had the 2 other ones. And it was funny, like, I knew that my life was busy and crazy, but like seeing that video, I'm like sitting there nursing a baby while I'm editing, while one kid is asking me for this and another kid is like doing stuff. And they took a video and I'm like, yeah, no wonder I was stressed out. Like, it's not a sustainable thing forever. Yeah. But you can't be scared. You're like, right. So I know I have a good thing. Yeah. How do I grow and evolve?
And a lot of people say to me, they're like, wow, like you figured this out a lot sooner than I did, or you figured this out a lot sooner than other people. And one thing about Anthony is that he's very good at learning from other people's lessons.
Okay.
It's like it's an amazing skill. Like, I feel like I have to make mistakes a lot of times before I get it. He like sees someone make a mistake and he's like, oh, I'm not going to do that. And, you know, with this huge change that we made, it's about us realizing, wait, we're going in a path that we could continue down for the next 20 years.
Right.
And miss this. And that is not what we want. So it was a scary, bold move to financially. But as far as like our life and our health and what we wanted for our family, we had to make this change.
Right.
It was like, how could we not? Like,
but you know what's funny? So many people don't make that change. Yeah. So many people are like, well, this is what you're supposed to do. Yeah. You're supposed to get up and you're supposed to go do this forever. Yep. And that's that.
Yeah. I don't believe that. I believe we're on our journey, and when an opportunity or, you know, a path changes direction, or there's a roadblock, or however you want to look at it, it's an opportunity for a change, and through that change there's growth, and that's where you really discover who you are and where you get to expand in life. And it's through those challenges, you know, and through that hardship. And I'm very fortunate that I have a partner that, you know, supports that, and that we're in it together. So it's not a one-man show. But
you're also not afraid to work at it. It's not like you're just waiting for stuff to...
No.
Right. You're not just letting stuff fall into your lap. Mm-mm. You're seeing that opportunity and you're like, right, there's the opportunity. Now, what do I need to do to make this work?
The amount of skills that I've had to learn in order to do this, like, not only have we changed our cooking methods completely, I now can running a website and social media and making reels and
reels. I'm so over the reels. Reels are a necessary evil in this industry. Both industries, I would imagine.
They are, since we're an online business, and it's a complete learning curve. And you know what? I'm like, okay.
All right.
We'll learn how to do this.
Let's do it.
And who can I hire to help me and teach me? And I have, you know, a young girl that she's a dietetic student helping me as much as I'm helping her with like the nutrition part. She's teaching me how to do things online. You just showed me how to do something that'll save me time with my emails. Like, I just met with another girl that used to work for me. She's going to help me streamline my Instagram, which I'm blown away. If you need some help with that, like, this person just gave me this epiphany on how to like simplify my life on Instagram and be more effective. I'm like,
yeah, you can totally tell me that.
Yeah.
Because so Instagram is a necessary evil.
Until you see what she says. It's genius.
Okay, I have to see it.
It's actually changing the tiles so that it actually is like an ad when someone goes to your Instagram page, instead of it just being all these pictures of you trying to
you can see like
it looks,
yes.
you know, but it actually has all the information And then when you open it up, you can get more information on each one of those tiles. Yeah. And then using your highlights to like really share it. And then you're just posting stories. And then the reels just go wherever they go when you post a reel when you want to and boost it. I'm just like, oh, I don't have to
this is
post a reel
awesome.
every day. Okay,
this is amazing.
Yeah.
The reel thing drives me crazy. I'm like, it wasn't enough that I was posting amazing pictures. Yeah. Now I have to be making reels on top of it.
Yes, it's crazy. But learning it, doing it, whatever. And I'm ready to adapt. And if Instagram's not the way to do it, all right, what's the next way? Like, we'll do it.
Right. That was a big pivot for me. Website. It always used to be about the website. And then there was a change and it was all about Instagram. And it like sucked because I'm like,
Facebook, then Instagram, right? It was like crazy how it like changed. Yeah.
For our industry, it was more like you had to have a Facebook, but it was like, you have to have a Facebook, but really your portfolio and your blog on your portfolio. And then it switched to Instagram and like, it was very, very annoying. And I hated it at first because it took me forever because I'm old AF. And it didn't come naturally to me. My stepdaughter, actually, Cheyenne, you remember Cheyenne when she was living out here. She taught me Instagram because I'm like, I don't even know what I was supposed to do. Yeah. Like, but I had to embrace it, right? Like, what am I going to do? Just say, no, I don't want to.
And curl over and be like, oh, I don't do that. Right. I just used, it's like saying that you don't use digital, that, you're only going to use film, or then you're not going to change to HD. Like, what is the next? What is it? DSR?
DSLR, yeah.
Yeah. Like you weren't going to change that. Like you just.
And now it's mirrorless, as you have with your fabulous camera.
You just have to keep changing, and that's just like how it is, and you learn.
Dude,
and you figure it out, right?
The path that you've taken, it's so like.
I'm 42, in case anyone's wondering. Yeah.
She's beautiful.
Well, it's been a lot.
No, but it's just like you kept getting these things in your life and you could have been super frustrated by it and been like, this sucks. I worked so hard to get here and now someone's taking it away from me. But instead it sounds like you weren't like, this sucks and someone's taking it away from me. You're like, this has been given to me and I can see something. And what do I need to do to grow this and push it in a good direction?
I see it as growing through it. It's
growing through it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
that's awesome.
How to take that, whatever that, every time a big challenge, or like whether it's personal or in work or whatever it is, like I see that as like, okay, I'm given this challenge or as an opportunity to, experience this. And like, this is what's, and because I can handle it and I can handle it, or I wouldn't be given that. And that's, this is my chance now to do this. Okay. I can either ignore it or cry about it and then just deal with this lesson again when it comes up the next time and not deal with it, or I can face it head on and grow through it, because I feel like we're presented patterns.
You need to turn that into a shirt. Grow through it. I love that.
It's true though. Like it's like these lessons or roadblocks or experience seem to repeat themselves and just get magnified until you listen and you're like, I got to face this. I got to face this little demon. Like it's time, or, and use it as an opportunity, to actually grow, because I want to continue evolving and growing in this life.
Right? It would be so sad if you were the same person today you were when you were 16.
Yeah, definitely not. I barely know that girl.
Yeah.
And releasing it and letting it go once I'm done with, whatever that was or whatever that experience was. Like, I tell you this story. It's funny when I like sit in front and I like talk about, like I've been interviewed, and I talk about my story. It's almost like I have to remember it, because I've released that. Like, I'm not that person. Like, I can remember the story, but it's over. Like, I'm now someone different today than I was.
That's so awesome.
It's just,
like freeing. Like, you're allowed to grow.
That's what we're here for.
That's what we're here for, right?
Yeah.
Dude, that's so freaking awesome.
Yeah.
So cool. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. So can you let everybody know where your event space is, along with the website again, and anything else that you're working on?
Our address is 10 Leigh Street in Clinton, New Jersey. If you come into town, come check it out.
You have to check it out. It's so beautiful.
It's worth just stopping in, and we love showing off our kitchen because we worked really hard on it, and really, that's the most special room in the place. It's this kitchen.
Her cute little kids might be in there sometimes, hanging out on the couch.
Around. Yeah, exactly.
Her daughters are adorable. They're so super cute.
Thank you.
It's just like, it just, like, as a friend, like, it just makes you excited to see some. I'm like, my gosh.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, it looks amazing. Like,
yeah. Well, you saw the baby shower, like the precursor to the baby shower that we did this past weekend. And it was our first big event that we had done in our new space. And it was one of those, like, I just walked around and kept hearing, like, just overhearing conversations of people talking about, oh my God, look at that molding. Isn't that beautiful? Oh my goodness, I love the artwork in here. Wow, did you taste the chicken? It's so good. Like, my head was just like going to explode. I couldn't believe everyone I was walking by was literally just like, they weren't telling me. They were just talking about how amazing it was. And I was like, yeah, we got this.
You're like, I know.
Yeah, we're ready. Now I'm like, okay, let's bring it on. Ready to book the catering. I'm not afraid. Let's go.
Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. I know.
Check it out.
Nourish to Heal.
Yeah, Nourish to Heal.
NourishToHeal.com.
And it's funny. The only reason we have to wrap it up is because, like you, with my own children, moving into things I also am homeschooling and sending my oldest to Polytech. So because she goes to Polytech as a homeschooler,
you have to drive.
There's no busing. So I'm back to like how it is when you have kids in preschool where you have to drop them off and pick them up 2 hours later. So it's one of those things where like, very, very happy to give her this opportunity because, again, through COVID, I'm not like one of these homeschooling parents who just was like, oh my gosh, this is my dream to homeschool my kids for my whole entire life. I'm like, that's me. Yeah. I was never that person. I was never that person. And then I saw how some of my daughters flourished. They just flourished through homeschooling. And I just, okay, right. Like, this isn't what I wanted, but this is something that has worked so well for them. So like, I'll make it work.
Well, I think you removed ego from it. You're like, what's best for each child? And they each need different things. And you're like, what's the best thing for them? Like, that's that's your role really as a mom is you're putting aside what you think it should be and doing what's best for each one of them. And that's amazing.
It really was like, why can't my daughter go to Polytech? Why not?
Yeah, and why can't this kid go to school and this kid stays home?
Why not?
Whatever works for them.
Right?
Yeah.
So that is what I'm at. It's so funny. She knows when I do podcasts, I always tell her, I'm like, I should be there on time, but I might be a couple minutes late. So, but no, that's the only reason why I had to wrap it up. But no, this was like, dude, it's so freaking awesome. It's so freaking awesome.
Thank you.
So freaking awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That was awesome.
And then, as always, if you have any questions for us, you could find us at cherryvillephotography.com, on Instagram we're Cherryville Photography, on Facebook we're Cherryville Photography. DM us and it'll all be in the show notes. And get some food. Get some food because it's so good. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for
Bye,
having me.
everyone.
Bye.